Imagine a secret society, for men only, that swept across the Roman Empire for over 300 years. Its members, mostly soldiers and merchants, met in hidden underground temples that looked like caves, from the cold frontiers of Britain to the dusty borders of Syria. They shared secret handshakes, swore oaths of loyalty, and worked their way up through 7 mysterious levels of initiation. At the heart of it all was a single, shocking image. A young god in a strange cap, plunging a dagger into the neck of a sacred bull. Welcome to 10-Minute History. I'm your host, Jake Sullivan, and today we're diving deep into one of the ancient world's most compelling and enigmatic secret religions, the Cult of Mithras. This is a historical puzzle where almost all the pieces are missing. The followers of Mithras left behind no sacred books, no gospels, no instruction manuals. Everything we know comes from the silent testimony of their art, the ruins of their temples, and the angry writings of their biggest rivals, the early Christians. So who was this bull-slaying god, and what did his followers actually believe? The story starts, as many Roman things do, by looking east. The name Mithras comes from a much older, powerful god from Persia and India named Mithra. In the ancient sacred texts of India, from as early as 1500 BCE, Mithra was a god of contracts, friendship, and cosmic order. He was the friend who made sure you kept your promises. In ancient Persia, in the religion of Zoroastrianism, Mithra was a mighty warrior god who protected truth and punished liars. He rode a chariot pulled by white horses and judged the souls of the dead. But here is the absolute central puzzle of this entire mystery. The Persian Mithra never ever killed a bull. In fact, in Persian beliefs, the bull was a positive creature, and its death was a tragedy caused by an evil spirit. So how did a Persian god who protected cattle become a Roman god whose most famous act was killing one? For a long time, historians, led by a famous Belgian scholar named Frans Cumont, believed that Roman Mithraism was just a version of the old Persian religion, adapted for a Roman audience. It seemed to make sense. But starting in the 1970s, a new generation of scholars looked closer and found huge problems with that theory. They pointed out that there is zero evidence of anyone worshipping a bull-slaying Mithra in Persia. Key parts of the Roman cult, like the 7 levels of initiation and the cave-like temples, have no real connection to Persian religion either. The modern view is far more dramatic. Mithraism was likely a brand new religion, invented inside the Roman Empire sometime in the 1st century AD. Its creators were brilliant religious entrepreneurs. In a crowded marketplace of gods, they gave their new faith an air of ancient authority by borrowing the famous name of a Persian god and using exotic Eastern symbols, like the distinctive cone-shaped Phrygian cap that Mithras always wears. It was, in essence, a masterful act of branding. So how did this new brand spread? The main engine of its expansion was the Roman army. We find the ruins of Mithraic temples, called Mithraea, all along the military frontiers of the empire. From Hadrian's Wall in northern Britain to the desert fortress of Duro-Europos in Syria, soldiers were the perfect audience. The cult's focus on loyalty, brotherhood, hierarchy, and struggle fit perfectly with military life. As legions moved, they took their secret god with them. But it wasn't just soldiers. The biggest single concentration of these temples was found in Rome's busy port city, Ostia. Merchants, sailors, and port workers, who faced the daily risks of travel and trade, were also drawn to this powerful divine protector. By the 2nd century AD, this secret faith was thriving in the shadows of the empire. To understand what drew these men in, we have to step inside their sacred space, the Mithraeum. These were not grand, open-air temples like the ones for Jupiter. A Mithraeum was small, intimate, and deliberately hidden, often built in the basement of an apartment building or designed to look like a natural cave. This was on purpose. It represented the cosmic cave, where Mithras was born from a rock, and where he slayed the sacred bull. Inside, the layout was always the same, a central aisle with long stone benches on either side, where 20 to 40 members would recline for their rituals and sacred meals. At the far end, in the most important spot, was the cult's central icon, an image we call the Tauroctony, which means bull slaying. This scene is the key to everything. We've found over 400 of them, and they are all stunningly similar. At the center is Mithras, a strong young man wearing his trademark Phrygian cap and tunic. He kneels on the bull, pulls its head back, and stabs it in the shoulder. But strangely, he always looks away, often back towards a figure of Sol, the sun god. From the bull's wound, life springs forth. In many carvings, ears of wheat sprout from the bull's tail. A dog and a snake leap up to lick the blood, while a scorpion attacks the bull's genitals. A raven, a messenger of the sun, often whispers in Mithras's ear. And flanking the whole scene are two smaller figures who look like mini versions of Mithras. One, named Kates, holds a torch pointing up. The other, Katapates, holds his torch pointing down. They represent sunrise and sunset, life and death, the great cosmic cycles. For decades, scholars were baffled by this bizarre and specific scene. What could it possibly mean? The most powerful modern theory is absolutely mind-blowing. Proposed by scholar David Ulansey, the theory argues that the Tauroctony is not a story, but a star map. It represents a massive cosmic event, the precession of the equinoxes. This is a real astronomical phenomenon, a slow wobble of the Earth's axis that causes the position of the Sun against the constellations to shift over thousands of years. For about 2,000 years during what we'd call the Age of Taurus, the Sun on the spring equinox rose in the constellation of Taurus the Bull. But then, because of this wobble, it shifted into the Age of Aries the Ram. Ulansey argues that Mithras is a god so powerful he can move the entire universe. By slaying the bull, he is ending the cosmic age of Taurus. The other animals in this scene perfectly match the other constellations that were on the celestial equator during that age: Canis Minor the dog, Hydra the snake, Scorpio the scorpion, and Corvus the raven. This was a sophisticated and powerful message. It told the initiate that their god was the ultimate master of time and fate, a power above the stars themselves, capable of guiding their soul to salvation. To gain this secret knowledge, a man had to progress through 7 grades of initiation, each linked to a planet and a guardian deity. It was a spiritual ladder, mirroring the soul's journey up through the heavens. You started as a Corax, the raven, a servant associated with the planet Mercury. Then you could become a Miles, the soldier linked to Mars. In this initiation, you were offered a crown on a sword. You had to refuse it, saying, "Mithras is my crown," symbolizing your loyalty to the god above all earthly honors. Higher grades included the Leo, or lion, associated with Jupiter and fire. Then came the Perses, the Persian, a nod to the cult's exotic branding. And finally, the top 2 grades were the Heliodromus, the sun runner, who acted as the representative of the sun god, and the highest grade of all, the Pater, or father. The Pater was the leader of the local group, the earthly representative of Mithras himself. He wore the Phrygian cap and presided over the rituals, the most important of which was a sacred meal. Members would recline on the benches and share a feast of bread and wine, reenacting a mythical banquet between Mithras and the sun god Sol. This ritual forged a powerful bond of brotherhood among the men. This secretive, all-male cult, with its cosmic secrets, became a major player in the Roman religious world, and it soon ran into its main competitor, Christianity. Early Christian writers were very disturbed by Mithraism because they saw so many strange similarities. Both had a savior figure who offered salvation. Both had a form of communal meal with bread and wine. Both had water rituals that looked a bit like baptism. And some sources even suggest Mithras's birth was celebrated on December 25th, the winter solstice, the same date later chosen for Christmas. But the differences were far more important, and they explain why Christianity ultimately succeeded while Mithraism vanished. The single biggest factor was exclusivity. Mithraism was for men only, immediately cutting out half the population. Christianity was open to everyone, men, women, rich, and poor. Second, Mithraism was a secret society. Its wisdom was hidden. Christianity was an evangelizing faith, actively seeking new converts and spreading its message publicly. Christianity also had its sacred texts, the Gospels, which could be copied and spread, creating a unified belief system. Mithraism had no books, only its complex images, whose meanings could be lost if the chain of oral teaching was ever broken. And finally, the political tide turned. When Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity in the 4th century AD, the game was over. Christianity received state support, and paganism, including Mithraism, began to be suppressed. Christian mobs smashed the statues in the Mithraea, and churches were often built directly on top of the old temples, a clear symbol of victory. By the early 5th century, a faith that had once spanned the empire was gone, its secrets lost to time. But it left behind some fascinating clues. The Roman Emperor Commodus, the villain from the movie Gladiator, was an initiate. Ancient texts claim he, quote, polluted the rites with a human homicide, hinting that the initiations may have been terrifying tests of courage, perhaps involving simulated violence that the cruel emperor decided to make real. In London, one of the most famous Mithraea was discovered in 1954. Today, it has been transformed into a stunning museum called the London Mithraeum Bloomberg Space, where you can stand on the original site and experience a reconstruction of the temple's mysterious atmosphere with light and sound. So what's the big takeaway from this forgotten religion? The Cult of Mithras is a powerful reminder of the human search for brotherhood, meaning, and a sense of order in a chaotic universe. For soldiers far from home, or merchants on dangerous journeys, the dark, womb-like cave of the Mithraeum was a refuge. It was a place where they belonged to something special, a secret club with cosmic knowledge. The story of Mithras is also a masterclass in how history is done. It shows how we can piece together a lost world from silent stones and complex images, becoming detectives trying to solve an ancient mystery. It proves that even a widespread and powerful faith can completely disappear, leaving behind only shadows and the enduring image of a god forever slaying a bull inside a cosmic cave. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know down in the comments. If you found this interesting or learned something new, please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to 10-Minute History for more deep dives. Thanks for listening.